I'm Debby Design, and today for my Doodling with Debbie feature for Stencils stamp, I'm going to be looking at how you can add extra details to your cards. Those small details can make all the difference and really take your projects up a notch. I'm going to be creating a Valentine's card using the new oh so cute picture book Love Bear and the beautiful folk dance stencil, both from Stencils stamp. Firstly, to create the bear, I'm going to be cutting the picture book Love Bear die from several colours of cardstock. As I run the bear through my die cutting machine, several of the shapes remain in the die, and I have recently found the Spellbinders 2-in-1, and it's really useful for pushing all those little pieces out of the die. I then put all the pieces to one side and moved on to the next colour. All in all, I cut the bear from Nina Desert Storm card, Ivory card, Cotton Candy card, twice from a Lipstick Red card, and finally from Black card. You could start compiling the pieces together straight away, but I want to add those extra details where I can, and so I gently sponge Stencils stamp khaki ink around the edges of the bear's body. This will give the impression of dimension and also deepen the colour of the card slightly to a more bear-like colour, if there is such a thing. I'm really liking Simon's Craft Tacky Glue, which came in a recent card kit, and I use that to adhere the body to a white piece of card. You could add the bear directly to your background, but I wanted a foam mounting for extra dimension, so I'm adding the pieces to some white card, and then when all the pieces are in place I can trim him out. So I continued fishing around in my pile of bear pieces to pick out the colours I wanted for each area: a Nina Desert Storm body, ivory tummy and snout, a red heart for his chest, pink heart ears, and finally a tiny black nose. I then used my scissors to cut him out. So that the white card wasn't visible from the front, I tilted my scissors so that they undercut the die cut pieces. This way the white card is just slightly smaller than the bear outline. It provides a firm base but isn't visible. Moving on, and I wanted to add more of those finishing touches to the bear to add interest. I used a Spectrum Noir sparkle pen to add a glittery finish to the red heart and pink heart ears. I used a Secura glossy black pen to add a realistic gloss to his nose. Then, to create more dimension and draw your eye to the red heart, I added the second red heart I'd die cut, added that with foam adhesive, again coated with Spectrum Noir sparkle pen, and then I coated Nouveau Crystal glaze. Finally, for his eyes, I added a pair of wiggle or googly eyes, depending on how you know them. I think these add great character to this little bear and really finish him off. Now I'm going to set him aside to work on the rest of the card, but before I move on, I'm going to keep all the pieces I'd cut in the picture book Love Bear envelope, and then I'll always have those pieces for another time. I'm going to mount my bear on an ink blended background. I'm using Lakeshore's ink as the main colour and gently blending a gradient of ink up a panel of Nina Solar white card on my scrap of Ranger craft mat that I've been using for years, and I really should get a new piece sometime. Once I'd got a gentle gradient of Lakeshore's ink, I deepened one end with scuba ink and then went back in with Lakeshore's ink to soften the transition. You could mount the bear straight onto this background, but with a view to adding more interest, I wanted to take the background up a notch by adding a subtle sparkly pattern using the new folk dance stencil and Nuva glimmer paste in the Moonstone colourway. Using a Ranger spatula, I spread the paste from one side to another as if spreading butter. This glimmer paste is my new love, and I'm going to need to buy a new pot soon, as all I want to do is add sparkle to everything. It never gets old to lift a stencil and see the result, and this glimmer paste is gorgeous, leaving a sparkly pattern that reflects the colour underneath. It's almost as if you've gone to the effort of dyeing the paste in several colours to get a gradient. I've placed the background to dry now while I work on the rest of the card. I often have lots of white space on my cards, not only in the sense of a focal point with space around, but also I often use white card too. However, for today I broke out the pattern paper from a recent card kit. This is by Crepe Paper from their Forever My Always 6x6 paper pad. I trimmed the paper to be just slightly smaller than an A2 card base and then ran it through the die cutter with a nested circle die offset to the lower right hand corner. While I had my die cutter out, I also ran the pine needle trio through with some green leaf card. I scored and folded an ivory card base to match the ivory of the bear's tummy and snout, and then started to compile the card. I needed to trim the ink-blended sparkly background, and to make sure it's fully dry before I did so, I ran a heat tool over it. I kept the heat tool moving so that all that it was doing was drying the glimmer paste without causing it to heat up and bubble. and then once dry I trimmed the piece so that it was just slightly smaller than my pattern paper panel. I then added foam adhesive to the back of the pattern paper and added the ink blended piece behind the open circle. I do like to add a good covering of foam adhesive to ensure the pattern paper is fully supported and won't sag or get crinkled when going through the mail. Next it was time to create my scene, and I was very careful not to nudge the wet crystal glaze on the bear's heart. I added foam adhesive to the back of the bear and then mounted him slightly to one side at the base of the open circle. I trimmed the pine needle trio pieces to fit around the bear as if they were trees and the bear was standing in a forest. I then adhered each of the pine needles with craft tacky glue to keep them in place. I only added glue to the base of the trunk so that the branches could be loose from the background and add extra dimension. I added more glue to the back of the panel and adhered it to the ivory card base. I used the Happy Valentine's Day sentiment from the Breakfast Buddies stamp set from Stencils Stamp. I stamped it in clear embossing ink on black card, and I treated the black card with EK Success powder tool to help prevent embossing powder randomly sticking where I didn't want it to. And then I sprinkled with white embossing powder before using a preheated heat tool to melt the embossing powder. I then trimmed the sentiment to a skinny banner and added it with foam adhesive along the base of the circle opening. One final touch was to add a pair of little things from Lucy's card sequins, again held in place with craft tacky glue. And that completes this card, adding extra details for interest and to give a polished final card. A few of the extra details I used are difficult to see on the video and sometimes even on the photos, but in real life those extra touches really do make a difference. On the Stencils Stamp blog you will find a coordinating blog post as well as details of the supplies I've used today. If you want to find me, I blog over at limedoodledesign.com. I want to thank you for joining me today, and I'll see you next time.